Hi, I'm John. I'm going to talk about how our digital content can be more accessible and inclusive. In this video, we'll discuss writing for inclusion. I often say that good accessibility begins with good content. So let's check out some of the ways that we can make our writing more accessible and inclusive. Use of capital letters. Avoid writing text in all caps. When text is all in capital letters, it removes some of the reader's ability to use pattern analysis to read the words, especially harder for people with dyslexia. The general advice is to avoid writing text in all caps for a number of reasons. Capital letters are about 13 to 18% harder to read, according to Gov.uk. It's disputed as to why capital letters are harder to read, but it's best avoided. Number 2. Text in capitals may be announced letter by letter. Screen reader software is used by some people to have what's on their screen spoken to them. This software may read out each letter when text is capitalized, because it's unable to analyze the text to understand the best way or to announce it or the purpose of that content. For example, here, contact us in all capitals is interpreted by some screen reader software as contact US, as in the USA. People don't like listening to shouting. Using all caps is considered by some to be the digital equivalent of shouting. In fact, some screen reader software packages announce uppercase letters with extra emphasis, which can be a little bit like listening to shouting. Another example of where capital letters can play an important role is in hashtags on social media. Capital letters can make hashtags more readable and less ambiguous, and are spoken more clearly by screen reader software. Use inclusive language. Be respectful. Don't reinforce stereotypes and common misconceptions. Avoid using ableist language. Keep an eye out for words and phrases that carry negative connotations or have a negative impact on or for disabled people. Ableist language has become normalized, but it's subtle discrimination. Words like crazy, idiot, or phrases like special needs or suffers from, these all carry negative connotations. Work on your own ableist stumbling blocks. Learn more. Think about alternative words and phrases you can use. Personally, I try to make sure that I put people at the heart of my language, avoiding calling people users, for example. Other people say it better than me, so check out Sidestepping Ableist Language by Ashley Bischoff for more information and resources. Learn about identity first language and person first language. Identity first is making the disability part of that person's identity, so calling somebody a disabled person, whereas a person first language is a person with a disability or people with disabilities. Now, this is a matter of personal preference. Surveys suggest that the majority of people prefer identity first language, so to be called a disabled person. Their disability is part of their identity, and people use that language to claim that identity. Disability literature often promotes person first language, which is focused on the person as an individual first, not defined by their disability. The phrase people with disabilities is more widely used in the United States of America. Don't use collective terms like the disabled. The word disabled is a description and does not identify a group of people. Use disabled people to describe a group of people, not the collective term. Use gender-neutral words and phrases to make your writing more inclusive. There's lots of information about this online for you to learn more. If you aren't sure about any of this, ask. You can't account for personal preference. Talk to people about this. It's not taboo. Don't worry about getting language wrong or being politically correct. Language shouldn't be a barrier to your learning. And talking to a disabled person shouldn't cause you to speak differently to how you would speak to anybody else. Remember, not all disability is visible either. Scope recommend that you hide, H-I-D-E, say hi, then introduce yourself, don't panic, and end the awkward. Another thing you can do to make your writing more accessible is to be careful with compound words. Now, compound words are commonplace. In fact, commonplace is a compound word. And they've become so commonplace that they've become acceptable in day-to-day use. Grandparents, newspaper, weekend, website. But we seem to have a love of making up new words, which is okay, but we need to be careful. Especially when we make up new compound words like homepage or sitemap, which are generally harder to read and can be an issue for people using screen reader software. For example, homepage is sometimes pronounced homepage, sitemap pronounced sitemap. Avoid being repetitive or verbose. Check your writing for repetition. One tip is to read it aloud, and repetitive and difficult to read content will become easier to spot. One example where text can be overly verbose is with emojis. We love emojis. They're fun, but they sometimes get overused, especially on social media. Their descriptions can be really verbose for some people, particularly people using screen reader software, so use them sparingly. Okay, how we write has impact. Again, good structure and style makes your writing more readable and accessible. Use capital letters appropriately. The words we write have impact. Learn how to use inclusive language and avoid being repetitive or verbose. So that's writing. What about visual design, colour? What about images, videos, and podcasts? In the next video, we're going to check out some of the ways that we can design our content to be more accessible. Thanks for watching.